What is going on YouTube and Spotify? This is the Just BSN podcast, episode 16 already, man. We're almost at 20. Can you believe it? Like we're already almost at 20 here.
Dude, it feels good to be consistent and doing this every week. Like,
It
I'm
does.
enjoying it.
It does. It does. And obviously, like, as we get more in tune with this now, we're really going to start to learn a little more editing again. I
Mhm.
mean, I've edited videos before in college, and I just have not used newer updates of like Premiere and stuff. So in time, that will happen. Thumbnails, all that stuff. We obviously want to do. It's just right now we're just not able to, which is fine. It is what it is. But just keep expecting us to just always be trying to upload at least once a week. And who knows, we might even get to a point where we do more than one a week. It just depends. But for now, this is the schedule. It's working, and it's been fun so far. And it's been fun so far because this Browns team has been beautiful to watch. They've given us reasons upon reasons to talk. And it's been a fun season for us. And it's going to be even more fun with this playoff run because, as you and I were trying to discuss earlier, uh, we want all of that smoke in terms of this Browns team. Um, I'm not scared of any team in the AFC and even the NFC. Really not scared of a lot of teams. The Browns have the capability to really put a beating on some teams and really compete against others, and it's going to be so much fun to watch. I can't wait. But yeah, we have a pretty down week this week. Obviously, a lot of the starters are going to rest. And before we get into that, because I know I've been talking for a little bit, but got a little fun thing to talk about from the Browns game. So story time. I always like to put in $5 or $10 bets on FanDuel for Browns games because why not? It's low risk, potential high reward. And on Thursday night, your boy hit big. Not too big, but big in my opinion. Basically hit a 8 leg parlay. I had a anytime touchdown for Elijah Moore and Kareem Hunt, and I had a few other legs as well. I think I had in Joku over 60 yards. He hit that within 2 plays pretty much. I had Elijah Moore above I think it was like 40 yards and a score. I had him above like 2.5 catches. Flacco over 239 and a half passing yards, and I think I also had him for 2 touchdowns. And they hit all of that with before the first half even ended. Um, in fact, I hit my final part of that leg as soon as Elijah Moore went down, which was unfortunate for him, but I mean, impeccable timing for me. And yeah, basically, $10 bet won me just over a grand, and it was a pretty sick bet. And I was really 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 excited about that. It definitely made me enjoy that win even more so than ever. And dude, it was what a fun day that was. And it's just a good cap to what a very fun season this has been so far.
Yeah, dude, when you told me about that, dude, that was the most nuttiest thing I've ever heard. Like, just to turn a few bucks into $1,000 is just absolutely wild. And like you said, did you hit that before a halftime? And
Mm-hmm.
like, it's so crazy too, because we ended up just balling out against the Jets. Like, I figured, the Jets have a top five defense. It'd be slightly closer than what it was.
Yeah.
And the Browns just said, yeah, no, we're just going to drop like a quick 30 before the first half even ends. And I was sitting there like, dude, this game's already over and it's not even halftime. Like, do I just keep watching? Or do I keep watching? Do I turn it off? Is this going to be like the Raiders game where they dropped like, what was it, like 65 points or something?
Yeah. I mean, it
Like,
was it was insane.
and dude, what a way to cap off making the postseason too, like making the playoffs and just
Yeah.
absolutely just decimating your opponent, being like, all right, this Thursday night game, this primetime football game, you're in, or if you win, you clinch, and dude, Joe Flacco just goes for like 300 yards in the first half and just says, "Yeah, we're just gonna win this outright. Like right now, we're not gonna fuck around. We're not gonna waste time. We're just gonna go out there and just ball out and just win this thing." And of course, by halftime, he's fucking taking a nap on the bench. He's sitting there
He's
just
falling asleep.
passing.
Yeah, he's falling
Yeah,
asleep
he's
in the
like, "Fuck."
cell.
Like, damn, this game's boring to him now. Like he just got off the couch and this shit's already boring to him.
Yeah, yeah, that was a great game. It was nice to do it, not only at home, but also on national television. I mean,
Yeah.
the spotlight is on you. Everybody was watching, and you put yourself on notice. Like we
Mhm.
are locked in as the fifth seed now, which is perfect for us because if a lower wild card seed wins a game, we host a playoff game that
Yeah.
following week if we win our first game. And that's always if. Like I'm not gonna speak illy of that because I don't want to discredit everybody else that makes the playoffs. But the playoff bracket is going to shake up a little bit this week as well because there's going to be some big games that we will talk about later. But just knowing that we are locked in as the fifth seed, it makes this week easier. So this week Flacco's out. Driscoll is going to start, which is cool. I actually am not as surprised that we went with him over PJ just because you've seen what you can see with PJ. I just don't feel like he fits the scheme currently right now, and I think Flacco Stefanski just wanted to kind of keep true to like what's been the move for the last month or so, and whether he plays good or not, listen, as long as we come out healthy, we don't lose key guys or anything. That's all I care about. I just want to come out of this game free, and I want to come out of this game injury free. And I get people have differentiating opinions on having to sit guys as like a bye week, but at the same time, the people that wanted the one seed, you would have gotten a bye week regardless. And if you would have done that, you would have had 2 weeks off. So it it is what it is. Like you have to pick one or another. I get people wanting momentum, and you see it every year. There's teams that just come out flat, and thank God it won't be us because I really don't think this team is going to come out flat. They're going to come ready to go. They've had their previous playoff experience. There's guys that have been to Super Bowls on this team now. There's legit experience that this time around. Guys are going to be ready, and I think Stefanski is going to be ready. Jim Schwartz is going to be ready. And that's why I say I think the Browns want all of that smoke, and so do I. Like just fearless. This is one of the most fearless groups that we've had in Cleveland in so long. It's gonna be a fun ride. I just can't wait. Let's start it now.
Yeah, dude, I'm ready for the playoffs to start. And with the Jeff Driscoll signing, you bring in a guy who was with Cincinnati from 2016 to 2018, so he already knows the AFC North. He already knows the Cleveland Browns, and he knows Cincinnati. So playing him in his game is obviously the better choice to go with PJ Walker because he already knows the Cincinnati Bengals. He was with the organization for multiple years. He knows how they like to do things. He knows how Zach Taylor and all those guys like to run and do their thing and stuff like that. So I think it was a clear cut choice that Jeff Driscoll was going to start. Plus, too, he doesn't turn the ball over a lot like PJ Walker does. I think I saw a stat earlier that PJ Walker had one or two touchdown passes this season with like 14 interceptions and like 5 fumbles or something. It was like something crazy. And Jeff Driscoll this season with Arizona, before we signed him, was like, oh yeah, he's got like 12 touchdowns to like 5 interceptions or 6 interceptions. So it's like, yeah, already right there, there's a massive difference between a guy who's thrown double digit interceptions with 1 touchdown compared to a guy who's thrown double digit touchdowns with single digit interceptions. So it's all about, just not turning the ball over. I think they want to go into this game just playing clean football.
Yep.
And being able to just rest guys, I know some of the guys were already ruled out for this game. Obviously, Joe Flacco was like the first guy named off that list that he was out. Amari Cooper deemed himself out basically in his press conference today. He said he could do with the rest, so he pretty much ruled himself out. So no Amari Cooper. Guys like David Njoku and
Batonio for sure.
Batonio, Denzel Ward, a lot of those guys. I mean, half those guys looking at the injury report hasn't even practiced all week. They are like,
Garrett, and even Zadarius. I guarantee either of them play. They might dress, but they won't play.
yeah. I mean, a lot of these guys like Shelby Harris did not practice. Walker did not practice. Pochich didn't practice. A lot of our other starters were limited practice, but that's because they just kind of want to keep warm and keep
Yep.
fresh. So they're practicing, but like they're doing like half practices and stuff like that. They're more or less in the gym, grinding out workouts and stuff like that. And
Yep.
this is a chance for all your backups and all of your young guys to come in. I mean, like we just said, we just signed Jeff Driscoll, so he's going to come in, be the primary backup to Joe Flacco for the playoffs. Or well, him and DTR are going to kind of battle it out for the kind of like the backup spot. So PJ Walker is going to pretty much get booted off the roster when DTR comes back. You signed Roger Saffold too off of the Jets practice squad, who I don't know what the Jets were doing.
Yep.
I don't know what the Jets were doing with that either, because he was a back-to-back Pro Bowler the last 2 seasons.
Yep.
So even though he's in his mid-30s, like for a guy in his mid-30s to make back-to-back Pro Bowls, like he's probably doing something right. And just for you to say, like, oh, we don't want him, and you started like 3 other guards this season, like he probably could have helped you a lot. But I mean, we'll gladly take a healthy guard who's probably going to play in this game too, just to see what he can do. Maybe you could replace Hudson with him or something, because he did play on the outside as a tackle in his college career and early in his NFL career. He was an outside tackle. So where like your James Hudson and your Christian is, and stuff like that. So he could play out there. And so that might be an option for them to take out James Hudson, who's been getting killed all season long, and put in a veteran guard, or basically veteran guard / tackle in there, and get him ready for a playoff. So that this might be his little playoff tryout going against Cincinnati. So we might see him going there. But this is just a chance for, like you said, for all the guys to get healthy, and for the 26 people that are injured to get rested up and healthy and raring to go. I know some of these guys won't be there for the playoffs. Your DeJuan Joneses and a lot of those guys, which is very unfortunate, because I know those guys would be so happy to be in the playoffs and dominate and stuff like that. But it's nice to have a lot of your starters who did just come back, your Juan Thornhills and your Anthony Walkers, to rest up again, get the extra day's rest. And same with Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore, Ogbo, who just came back the other day. It's great to have those guys back and getting a week off of rest and being healthy for a very important playoff game. And like you said, dude, like if all 3 wildcard teams win, as of right now, the wildcard teams are the Browns, I think it's the Colts, and the Bills.
Yeah.
If all 3 of those teams win, you host a playoff game in the divisional round, because then Baltimore plays the worst wild card team, which right now that would be the Colts, and you would host Buffalo, because you're 5th and Buffalo's 6th, so you would host the Bills.
Yeah.
And obviously, flip forward to, we obviously just said if Buffalo beats Miami this week, again, you would host Miami in that case if Miami were to win their playoff game. So you would host a playoff game, which would be insane. And honestly, I would take on Miami more than Buffalo, because Buffalo can play in the cold weather, Miami can't.
Yeah,
Miami's a little beat up right now too. So now would be the time to play Miami, and I'd rather take them over Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, especially on the defensive side of the ball, Miami is torn up. Their D line is tore up. Their linebackers are getting hurt too. Like they're just a little beat up, and even Reek has been hurt for a few weeks now. Waddle has been out for the last few weeks, so they're a little banged up. And to be honest, Miami does not have a great O-line. If Schwartz could really design a really good plan against them, it could really be sick. And we could really do some damage and really use that home field advantage to our favor. But you got to win the first one, and that is what it is. That's how playoffs work. And if it right now, it looks like we're going to play the Jags. I think it's Colts and Texans
Yeah,
are playing, and then I think the Jags. I forget who the Jags play, but
I can always take a look.
whoever will win within that group will obviously win the division there. And then the other one will probably be a wild card team. Now, there is also a scenario where the Steelers sneak in, which is interesting too, because I thought they were out after they lost like three straight. But they're starting to battle
Yeah,
back now.
they
So
could
could be
be in with a
interesting.
loss too. They could
Yeah.
be in with a loss too, which is even more bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah, Houston. So the Saturday matchups are Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Houston and Indianapolis. So we'll see. I'm gonna be watching that Houston Indianapolis game for sure on Saturday because again, one of those two teams you could be playing in the playoff in the first round. I'm trying to find out where Jacksonville plays at Tennessee, so that could be a game that Jacksonville wins. So it depends on basically who just wins outright. You know, if it's going to be Houston, Indianapolis, or Jacksonville, one of those three teams will. And I'll have to pull up the playoff scenarios again and see what the scenarios are if all three win, if whoever gets who wins the tiebreaker and all that
Yeah.
stuff. I want to say it would be Jacksonville that wins the tiebreaker and we'd be playing the Jags, but I'm not too entirely sure. Um, but I would have to see what would happen if like Jacksonville wins or whatever and see all the
Yeah.
tiebreakers and stuff. But
And I do know Jacksonville, they're just getting Christian Kirk back this week, which is big for them because I mean, I feel like they play a lot better with him in their lineup. I think he helps stretch the field a little bit. So that could bode well for them as well. I mean, if Jacksonville can get healthy again, they'll be a much harder team to face. But also, to be honest, dude, I don't know if I want smoke from Houston again. I mean, I do. I mean, I'm not scared of them, but the difference is CJ Stroud would be back. And, he's been great. And, even though he's a rookie and Schwartz could very well, tie up a great game plan, against him, um, he still has, Nico. He's back. Dalton Schultz, Noah Brown. Like those guys are still quality enough. Obviously, he don't have Tank Dell, but it's still enough for him. And it could be a very different game.
yeah.
And I think if you're gonna face any team, it's gonna either be Jags or the Colts. I think those are the two teams that you would prefer to play. But honestly, all three of those teams kind of are on like the same level. So it is
Also,
what it is.
what I'm seeing too is if Jacksonville wins, it doesn't matter what happens to Houston or Indianapolis because it says Jacksonville wins the tiebreaker over Indianapolis and Houston based on
Okay,
head-to-head record.
gotcha. Okay, so yeah,
So
all they
if
gotta do is
Jacksonville,
win.
yeah, so if Jacksonville wins, then the Texans and Colts game doesn't matter.
Yeah, and then I mean that game would be in Jacksonville
Jacksonville.
at that point, which is fine honestly because you get clean weather, with Flacco, and the guy is off of a little bit of a breather. You're gonna come back pretty healthy considering what we have. Um, even guys like Elijah Moore are practicing right now, so that's good for the playoff run because I mean after that hit, I was like, man, he might be out for a few weeks, and it seems like he's actually recovered pretty well, which is pretty shocking to me, honestly. But again, the feeling heading into the playoffs, regardless, is again we want the smoke, um, and we don't care who it is. We really don't fear any team in the AFC, and we love this like underdog feeling that that we have. Although guys are talking about us and in the media. Like people are excited about this team. They're excited to see Flacco playing well again, and they're excited to see the Browns playing well. When the Browns play well, the whole league is just so much more fun for everybody. It really is, except for Bengals fans because they're just spoiled rotten and cannot handle the fact that we're winning once. They've been in the playoffs for 3 straight years now, and they can't handle one bad year. It's they're in shambles, down there.
Oh god,
But
yeah, dude, it's horrible.
it is, and it's every day. It's either Bengals fans or Steelers fans talking that crap. Just saying a bunch of stuff about the Browns. I saw one guy tweet that said like the Browns aren't even good. They haven't beaten anyone, and I said, what is the ball like? What does the Ravens win look like? What does the San Fran game look like? What? The only really bad loss, like the truly bad loss that we had, was really against Seattle. The Rams was
Yeah.
a weird game because it was away. Seattle, we had that game. Like we should have won against Seattle. The Ravens game we lost to ourselves, and even the Steelers game. If it wasn't for Chubb going down the way he did, like, even if he had gotten hurt, if it wouldn't have been as dramatic as that was, or just how that game started. I mean, that whole first quarter was a whirlwind. I mean, we all recall that because it's embedded in our brains. But that was the longest first half of a game that I've ever watched in my entire life.
It took like an hour.
It took almost two, I think.
Yeah, it was almost
For
2 hours.
for one half of football, it took almost 2 hours because of how long the first quarter took. And it was because of the turnovers and just all this crazy crap that was going on. It was just a weird game. It was one of those games that could have gone both ways, and it went towards the Steelers because they had a very key sack there at the end, fumble, touchdown, all that crap. So I mean, we were in these games, but other than that, we've dominated a lot of our games. We've came out on top of close games, and that's the big difference is we've learned how to win games instead of always losing games. And some teams that have been good for a while, they are too spoiled to like understand that. But like as a Browns fan, when you see that, you're like, okay, this team is like literally taking that next step. Like they are learning. They've learned how to win at a high level, doing anything it can to win a game. Like that's what you wanted out of this team for so long, and the talent has always been there. And now everything is starting to flow, and this team's got the most swag out of any team ever, too, man. Like it's just what a season this has been. But the coolest thing about today is everybody that spoke today, was saying we're not done. Like we're not even close to being done. Like
Yeah.
we want so much more, and that's what you want to hear. Like these guys sound so motivated. They aren't worried about getting into the playoffs now. They're no, we're here. Like now, let's go make some fucking noise and let's go, really take it to some of these good teams.
Yeah, and I think too is it's because of the confidence level, not just like the other players around them too, but the coaching staff.
Yep.
This team really feels like they can make like they know like this is their opportunity. Wow, especially the AFC is just so beat up and banged up, and they know like this is their opportunity to make the Super Bowl. Like
Yep.
they know like this is it. This is the chance we've been waiting for. Kansas City is not the same Kansas City for the last few years. They are definitely not that good. The defense is very mid. The offense can't move the ball unless it's Isaiah Pacheco and basically Rashi Rice. And Travis Kelce hasn't even played that well in the last few games either. He has been non-existent, and
He
you
needs to
know
come to Cleveland.
he does. Honestly, honest to God, him and Njoku together would be elite. Oh my
Yeah.
God,
Uh,
that's another day. We'll talk about that.
yeah.
but but my God, they have no receiver, so they can't do anything. And Mahomes can't throw to anybody besides those two because he has no one else to go to. The Ravens, for some reason, they just struggle against us, like the Bengals do. They just they blew us out when DTR was the quarterback, but every year before and stuff like that, it's always been very close games, and it's always been decided pretty much by a field goal or at the very end by a game winner. So it's like we have the Ravens number, and because they haven't really blown us away.
No.
We've actually had recent success against the Bills lately. Like we know we can play the Bills. Miami's banged up and beat up, and they're not looking too surprising at all. And their schedule is one of the easiest in the NFL.
Yeah.
They're like the Cowboys. Like everyone's glowing about how good they are. It's like cool when you beat one team above 500 all season long. Like yeah, you can definitely be good. And then when you play actual legitimate teams, you get your asses kicked, like the Ravens.
Yeah.
So they're not good. We've beaten the Colts already. We've beaten Jacksonville already. Like these guys know.
We've beaten. I mean,
we've
pretty
beaten the
much beaten
Texans.
everybody in in the AFC.
We've beaten everybody. Looking in the playoff picture, we've beaten everybody in the AFC playoffs already, basically.
Yeah,
And
basically.
And you look at the NFC, we've beaten the 49ers. We've beaten a lot of those teams as well. And
Mhm.
and if not, we've lost by again, like a game winner field goal or a game winning
Yeah, the
field goal
Rams
or
was the only. I mean, the Rams
the
was the only
Rams.
NFC team that killed us, and that was just a
Yeah.
weird game because it was Joe's first game. Uh,
Yeah.
Weird. Like our defense just played horrible that game. I think that was a fluky game anyway.
I think if we had another opportunity, we would handle them with ease.
Absolutely. Well, yeah.
Not with ease, but we would handle them.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be it wouldn't be a 35 to whatever it was 35-17 win or whatever. It would be a lot closer.
Yeah.
But as I've been saying, as everyone else has been saying, the Browns are not the team to fuck with in this playoffs.
Everybody
They are
knows
definitely,
it.
and everybody knows it because they know this. Everyone like is oohs and ahs over the Ravens defense, and then they look at the Browns defense, and they're like, "Oh my god, it's just a carbon copy of the Ravens defense. They're just so good. Like they just have so many elite players, and no matter what you do, it's gonna be picked. The ball's gonna get picked off, and
Yeah.
especially with the young kids, Ronnie Hickman has been a stud. He's been so good. A lot of people are saying he's been better than Juan Thornhill this year,
Yeah.
and it's kind of close.
Yeah. I mean,
I
yeah.
mean,
I think
but
Thornhill's leadership is more
is much needed.
valuable
Yeah.
than what he's done on the field, but he's been fine. It's not like
He's
Thornhill's
been
played bad.
he's been a Super Bowl veteran like you want him
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
And that's what you need him to be. Ronnie Hickman's just a ball hawk. He
Yeah.
just knows where the ball is. He knows how to get to the ball. I mean, we talk about this team. We talk about this team is literally the definition of the next man up mentality because every time someone went down, the next man behind him has played just as good, if not better, than the man starting in front of him. The only one I can think of that has it is James Hudson.
Yeah.
He's really the only one I can think of that has not stepped up to have the next man up mentality.
No,
Which is
I mean,
probably
I
why
will
you got Roger
say
Saffold.
right, and like, listen, like, I will say he has been a little bit better, but
He's gotten better.
he'll still get a false start or he'll still get a hold, and it's just everybody else is playing pretty cleanly on this line.
I
And
think
then you
last
got
week,
him.
I think against the Jets, he played his cleanest game. I think he
Yeah.
had like maybe one false start, and that was about it the entire game. Other than that,
Yeah.
he wasn't really all that bad.
Yeah, I mean, and it was definitely overshadowed just by the fact that we just killed the Jets. I mean,
Yeah.
the Jets just didn't know what they were doing against us, I think, or they just kind of gave up because I mean, you have Trevor Siemian as your quarterback. It's really hard to be like pumped up for a game, especially on a short week like that. Uh, I mean, it wasn't that much of a shock, and plus, the Browns were ready. Like they were ready to close it out. They knew what they had to do, and they were like, I don't care how this gets done. Like we're doing this, and
Plus, the Browns are the best home team in the NFL. They've only
they
lost
really
one
are.
time, and
Yeah.
that was against
The Ravens.
DTR against the Ravens. And
Yeah.
so
His first game against the Ravens where he throws 3 picks, and yet the Browns still had more time of possession than the Ravens did. Like that was such a fluky
That's
game. It doesn't really
and
count. Like you didn't
and that's
learn
a
anything
game
from it.
and that's a game if you even if you had fucking PJ Walker in there, you probably make that a close game.
Yeah.
Or if you had Deshaun Watson, that game is close, or you actually win that game. You could have been undefeated at home, and that's why even hosting a home playoff game in a divisional round, when if all three teams, which is very possible, if all three wildcard teams beat their opponents, and you host the Bills or the Dolphins or something of the sort,
Yeah.
honest to God, like nobody would want to come to Cleveland because they know they would get their asses kicked. And what if the Ravens lose? Dude, you could host 2 playoff games at home. You could host the AFC Championship game at home, which I would still go to again.
Yeah. Which again, dude, there's like a weird aura about being the 1 seed. I mean, you just think about. I mean, plus they're gonna have 2 weeks off essentially because they're not playing any starters as they shouldn't. Like it's a smart way to go. The Ravens aren't dumb by doing that, but by having that 2 weeks off, yeah, sure, you're gonna be fresh, but are you gonna be fresh and rusty, or are you gonna be fresh and like relaxed? Because as we've said before, when it comes to Lamar has incredible in-season performances, but
Yeah.
when it comes to the playoffs, for some reason, it's he's
I
just
think-
different.
I think everyone forgets. I think people forget that too. Like, look at his
He's won
playoff
one
track
playoff
record.
game, I think, right?
Yeah, I think he's like 1-6 in the playoffs. Like
Baker had a better playoff record than he did. For one.
Yeah, and the thing is
Probably
too,
still does.
And the thing is, a lot of those games too that he had in the playoffs were at home,
Hmm.
and he lost. And it's not by like a little bit; he lost by a lot.
And
I mean, I think they got smoked by the Bengals the one year by like 20. Like, I'm about to look up Lamar's like playoff record, but it is not
I'm
good.
pretty
It's
I'm pretty sure the only game that they won in the playoffs was when they beat the 1 seed Titans.
so
I
Lamar
think.
Jackson. Lamar Jackson has a playoff record of 1-3.
Yeah.
He lost to the Chargers. He lost to the Titans in 2020. So he lost to the Chargers in 2019, lost to the Titans in 2020, beat the Titans in Tennessee in 21, which again, it was like I think it was like a very close game. I think it was like a game-winning field goal too that saved him. And then he goes to Buffalo and gets smoked. And the two games against the Chargers in Tennessee were home games that he played, and then he beat Tennessee at Tennessee. Then he beat Buffalo, or he lost to Buffalo in Buffalo. And listen to these numbers against the Chargers: 14 of 29 for 190 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. 31 of 59 against the Titans when he lost, 52%. Yeah, he had 365 yards, but he had 1 touchdown to almost three. I think he had 2 or 3 interceptions. The time he did win, he was 17 of 24 for 180 yards and
Yeah.
a pick, no touchdowns. And then against Buffalo, he had 162 yards, 14 of 24 for 58%. Again, 162 yards, no touchdowns, 1 pick. He is averaging 0.8 touchdowns to 1.3 picks. And his completion percentage is at about a 53%.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just not good enough. Like
and
it's
those are 2 games at home and 2 games on the road.
Yeah.
So it's not like he had split 2 games on the road and 2 games at home. He lost both games at home. He lost both games at home. Won one road game against Tennessee barely, and that was when Tennessee was really bad. They were like 9-7. Yeah, they won the division at 9-7, but they were like the worst playoff team there.
Yeah.
And you still struggled, and then you get your shit smacked by Buffalo last season. Like,
But I think to their granted, I think they lost last year because they had Huntley in because I think Lamar was still out. I think
Lamar played. That was
Lamar played.
that last stat I said was Lamar Jackson's stats. He played.
Wow.
He
Yeah.
got he threw a pick. He had 150 yards and threw a pick. And that was his day.
Yeah. I mean,
He's not a good playoff quarterback. He's 1-3. He's been in the playoffs for the last 4 years, 5 years, and he has not done shit.
yeah, and I mean
Not done
they've pretty
shit.
much had the same level of defense each year as well.
Yeah, the same level of defense too, a top 5 defense, and just the defense was okay. It's not like the defense wasn't, but the defense were solid. Just
And
Lamar
again,
Jackson couldn't stop throwing picks.
it's not like he has crazy receivers to throw to. Like, sure, Odell
Zay-
is there, but
I like Zay
he's 30,
Flowers.
and Zay Flowers is solid.
I
Listen,
love
Zay
Zay
Flowers is gonna be
Flowers.
a good.
He's gonna
He's
be
gonna be a good
elite.
receiver.
He's gonna
Yes,
be
he
really
will.
good.
He's very fast. He's a very good route runner.
He's like the AFC version of Tyreek Hill's in the AFC, but he's like another version of like a Tyreek Hill esque
Yeah,
like receiver. Very
yeah,
fast. Will get downfield.
great route
He
runner too.
great route
Clean.
runner. So he's like your Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle type receiver. Very fast, clean route runner.
Yeah.
Can catch the ball. So I mean, Lamar has that, but are they going to connect one to playoffs?
No,
The
because
thing is,
I mean, at the end of the day, the only thing that's really carried the Ravens has been their run game and their defense. Because when their defense can get turnovers, it creates that short field, and then they can literally run the ball, and then it's GG. So if you just limit the turnovers and don't mess yourself up, you keep locked in on Lamar and keep him in the pocket. Don't let him scramble around and do his crazy shit because you know what he can do when that happens. You've got to keep him within the pocket. Don't let him run. And if you do let him run outside because when he goes to gash through the middle, he's always getting so many yards. So, but then you have a guy like JOK. It doesn't matter, especially when he's playing as amazing as he has been, and now he's gonna be pissed because he didn't make a fucking Pro Bowl. So,
eh.
I mean, again, I'm not scared of the Ravens. I'm really not. But even if they do lose in that first round, yeah, the Browns are going to have home field playoff for pretty much almost the whole thing. So
And
that would be disgusting.
one thing too that doesn't get talked about a whole lot too is that Lamar Jackson has been sacked almost 40 times this season.
Hmm.
So it's not like their offensive line is doing a good job protecting him that much either. He's been sacked 40
Yeah.
times.
He just hasn't been really throwing a lot of picks, which again is fine, but I mean,
But those picks turn into sacks.
yeah,
And
exactly.
so either way, it's not helping him much when yeah, he does escape the pocket and then he throws it picked, but then there's times where he escapes the pocket or just sits in the pocket too long and he just because he waits. The problem with him is he waits too long. He tries to wait for Zay Flowers or Odell to get open, and he waits too long, and boom, he gets drilled. And Mark Andrews hasn't been the best tight end in the league this season. He's been very below average actually this year.
Yeah, he's
And I
starting to
get
look
it.
old. Like
He's
it's
starting to
weird.
look, and he came in the same draft I think too as Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield and stuff like that. He
Yeah,
came in
he
that same
played with
draft in
Baker.
2018.
Yeah, he played with Baker.
So I mean, it's not like he's that old, but it's like almost he's like showing an age. Like
That's weird.
he can't do it anymore, and it's like, dude, you're 28 years old.
And
You're
likely is all this is also just more athletic as a tight end, so I think
yeah
they like him in the pass game a lot.
yeah, and you could even use him as a receiver too,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But I think they're starting to like Isaiah Likely a lot more than
Hmm.
Mark Andrews a little bit because Mark Andrews is starting to look slow, sluggish, not the same Mark Andrews that used to decimate teams.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they move on from him. Whether it's just snip him or whatever. But like,
Come to Cleveland.
yeah, I mean, okay, who cares? But yeah, I mean, it's gonna make the playoffs interesting, and just the fact that there's still a possibility for a home playoff game. I mean, dude, if that happens,
Shit,
if
dude.
we get a home playoff game in Cleveland for the first time since what 2001, I think it was, or even
A home
longer than
playoff
that,
game. The last time the Browns had a home
or
playoff
was
game,
it the 80s?
I think it was like 1988. They said
Wow.
because in 2002 we went to Pittsburgh.
Right, and lost barely, but
Yeah,
we
because Kelly
lost.
Holcomb, because we were about to get into field goal range, and Kelly Holcomb threw the ball to I think it was Johnson, and he caught it, but he just missed the side. Like Johnson couldn't get out of bounds in time, and
Typical
we were
Browns.
we were about to be in field goal range too because we would have kicked the game winner, but we also blew like a 22-point lead as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, in typical Browns fashion, like that was,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's gonna be fun. And I already kind of mentioned, one snub of the Browns in terms of the Pro Bowler, but we have what five Pro Bowlers and another like five alternatives, I think. So
Oh,
we got
so I lied. It was 1994 AFC wildcard game on January 1st, 1995. The Browns beat the New England Patriots 20-13 at home in
yeah,
Cleveland.
okay. So yeah, the Browns this year now to go into the Pro Bowl. I know that was kind of a weird transition to this, but we do this very often. But yeah, Browns five Pro Bowlers there this year. You got obviously Batonio, Coop, Garrett, and Joku, and Denzel Ward, who are all very much deserving. And I know we do have some more all alternative guys, which I think one of them's Teller. I want to say, let's see, Delpit is D Hop, Jock, Pochich, and Bjork is as well, along with Delpit. If I didn't say that already, so I mean, all of those guys too kind of deserve it. The one guy that is really missing for me is Emerson.
Yeah,
Emerson, like statistically, has actually probably been our best corner.
he's been one of the best corners in the game.
And I mean, I don't know where he is in the league in terms of picks, um, but I mean, he's got to be up there in terms of picks because I think he has at least three or four. Um, Reception leaders for 2023 season. Sorry, guys, I'm gonna look this up real quick just because I can. Um, so good God, why does this all have to be like in the worst? defensive leaders, sacks, interceptions. Okay, so he's not even top five. Unfortunately, obviously that Deron Bland kid has 8 this year. My goodness, Jesse Bates
Yeah.
even has a lot. Um, but again, like, there's just it's been some good play out of Emerson. I really think he truly deserved a chance at the Pro Bowl, and it does suck because unfortunately the Pro Bowl it kind of loses
It loses its
its
value.
yeah, because of certain guys just keep getting in even if they didn't play that well. It's just because they're the player. Um, and it's interesting. It's weird, but I mean, how this always works is there's gonna be guys on the Pro Bowl that are gonna go to the Super Bowl, and they won't even be able to play. So guys are gonna be able to step in, which would be cool. But hopefully, we are one of those guys that doesn't need to use any of their Pro Bowler guys because we're going to be going for a Super Bowl. That would be best case scenario. But yeah, it was interesting that he didn't get in. I thought Jock deserved it as well. He's been absolutely lights out. I even think Zadarius has had a decent season. I mean, I know he hasn't put up huge sack numbers, but again, statistically, speaking, he's been one of the better DNs as well in terms of pass rush, rate and stuff. So I mean, they have all of the pieces, and it's been so much fun. Even D Hop. I mean, D Hop, I think he scored more and had a better field goal percentage than Justin freaking Tucker. And I mean, again, that's one of those guys that like he's only getting in the Pro Bowl because of his name, not because of what he did
I
on
think
the field.
I think Dustin Hopkins was gonna beat Phil Dawson for points leaders in a single season,
Yep. I mean, had he not gotten hurt, absolutely.
which is insane. But like you said, he's been better than Justin Tucker. And some guy, I saw this on Twitter earlier. Some guy said, "Why don't we just have two separate Pro Bowls? One that's for fan votes and one that's for like players and coach voting because like players and coaches see what they do every single day, know what they
Yep.
do, and it's like they're probably going to be less biased on who to pick
Yep.
rather than fans who are just going to pick their favorite players to be like, oh, like a person like Patrick Mahomes who's hasn't been fantastic all season. It's like, oh well, Patrick Mahomes is a Pro Bowl, like not this season. He hasn't been like
Right.
for Christ's
Like,
sake, he hasn't been.
I mean,
Or
Josh
the
Allen deserves it more than Pat.
and then you'll see like, oh, Kyler Murray is my favorite player. It's like Kyler Murray also hasn't played 90% of the season. Like I think there should be certain and I said this about the NBA too. There should be like certain requirements, games played. Like there should be certain requirements to qualify for a Pro Bowl. Like I said about the NBA. I think for the NBA you should be playing half the season.
Yep.
If you haven't played half the season, then you don't qualify for the All Star game. Or same thing with the NFL. If you didn't play for half the year, you don't qualify for the Pro Bowl because it takes away from the people who have been on the field time and time again and actually doing stuff and making plays
Yeah.
instead of just, oh well, this is my favorite player, so he's gonna get voted in. Like, okay, cool. Well, he hasn't done shit all season. It's like voting DeMar Hamlin in to the Pro
Yeah.
Bowl. Like I get it. Like he had a tragic incident happen, but he doesn't deserve to be in the Pro Bowl just because of it. Like
Yeah.
you don't. This is not an award for, wow, look at you. You did this. Like congratulations. Here, like we don't do gimmies here.
Yeah.
That's why everyone has Joe Flacco as comeback player of the year because we don't do gimmies around here.
Yeah. I mean, and look, I would be fine if Damar Hamlin got
I would
the
too. I'd
comeback
be
player of the
okay
year,
with
but
it.
again, he also hasn't played this year. He's just been on the active roster. Like I
Yeah,
don't even
he's
think he
touched it.
played it down.
No, he has two tackles, but I think he's played like five games, but like as a return, as not as on the return team for like 5 games, and it's like on like kickoff or something. That was it. Like after like the kick, he'll play on like he'll play on the first kickoff, get like, and then that's it. He'll just play on a kickoff, and that's it.
Yeah.
And he got two tackles after on the kickoffs, and it was literally the not like kickoffs like in the middle of the game. I'm talking like
And
beginning kickoff, like
yeah.
to
Oh yeah.
start the game. And he's played 5 of those, and everyone's like, well, he was on the field for one thing.
Yeah.
And that was just for one kickoff, and then he sat the rest of the time. He didn't play.
Yeah.
Like why are we considering that like, oh, comeback player of the year? Well, he's like, well, they got 2 tackles, so he did something. It's like, okay, cool. I think some random kicker, I think a kicker in the NFL or one kicker on one team has like 6 tackles after kickoff.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, one of our guys, I can't remember who took our kickoff. It was I can't remember who it was, but he
Bell.
did it. Yeah, D'Anthony Bell literally kicked the ball off and got the tackle on the same
Yeah.
play.
Literally.
Like it's not like it wasn't that hard for him to do that. Like he literally kicked the ball, sprinted as fast as he could downfield, and made the tackle.
Yeah.
Like Pat McAfee did that his whole career.
Exactly.
Like you can't
It's
sit there and say like he's the cover for doing one kickoff and then leaving the game for the rest of the time and being on the active roster. Like there has to be incentives to get this award. You have to play like half the season. You have to have like at
certain
least
bit of
like
snaps or
a certain
something.
amount
Yeah.
of snaps. Like you have to play like a certain amount of snaps. You have to play like half the year. There should be
Or even
incentives to get.
quarters.
Yeah,
You know, like how you used to letter in high school. You know, if you played 16 quarters or 20 quarters, whatever the hell it was,
yeah.
and then if you hit that benchmark, you lettered. Like it's like a certain bit of just
But they need to
time
do
that you
that.
got to play.
They need to do that for the Pro Bowl, and I said that too about the MLB All Star Game, the NFL or the NBA All Star Game, the NFL Pro Bowl. Like you have to at least have had a certain number of games played and like a certain number of like at bats or
Yeah.
like in the MLB or for the NBA, you have to have at least for the NBA it's games played,
Yeah.
and then for like the NFL, like you said, snaps, quarters, games played. Like there should be like one guy who's played 2 games all year shouldn't be a Pro Bowler because he's a big name player.
Yeah.
Like, or Mark Andrews or George Kittle shouldn't be Pro Bowlers just because they're Mark Andrews and George fucking Kittle. Like,
Yeah.
just they haven't done anything all season, so why the hell are they in the Pro Bowl?
And I'm sure the reason is just because of the name. I mean, they still you still want popular players to play in the
But
Pro
you
Bowl
want players who
Rumble,
did
but
shit.
right, like you want players that really did like
They
actually
earned
played
it.
well and earned it. Like guys like Jock and Delpit had great seasons,
Martin
and
Emerson was one of the best DBs in the league.
it didn't even get chosen to be a backup. I mean, it's that's what pisses me off about that the most. It's
Yeah.
guys that just really, really, really deserved it just didn't get that chance, and it sucks. Like it's a bummer for those guys because they worked so damn hard to do what they've done this season, and they won't get that chance.
And I
And
said this
it's
too about like MVP too. Like personally, my NFL MVP is probably Christian McCaffrey.
yeah, CMC. Like
Like because he had what was it like 20 straight games from last season to this season with a touchdown, if not
something like
two.
that. Yeah,
Like he had a crazy stat line. I think it broke like 3 weeks ago. Then he scored again like 2 touchdowns every game since, like up until like now. Like that's an MVP right there. Like I get it. You want to give it to a quarterback like Lamar Jackson or Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy, but like
yeah, but like
when does other players get
you
love like Christian McCaffrey, who's literally a valuable player
Tyreek
to a team? Tyreek
Tyreek
Hill.
Hill. I mean,
Those are
he
probably my
literally
first two
won people
choices.
fantasy leagues.
Yeah, he's probably my first. Those are probably like my first two choices are CMC and Tyreek Hill.
Um,
And then I'll start going to like Lamar Jackson and Brock Purdy and then Dak.
yeah, it's gonna be weird, but yeah. I mean, now we get to the point where we're gonna start getting into back. Oh God, I'm so out of it today, guys. I'm on 6 hours of sleep, so I'm just stroking out over here. No big deal. But I do want to jump back into a little bit of the playoff bracket predictions before
Okay.
we move on, because I do want to talk a little bit about OSU, because some news just dropped about 15-20 minutes ago about OSU. So I do want to talk about that. But before we do that, there's some big games this weekend, and I'm very curious how you feel this playoff bracket is going to be set by the end of the weekend.
I mean, like we
Obviously, the
discussed,
Ravens are locked, but the
Yeah,
two
there's
seed is up for grabs. I think even the 3 seed could be up for grabs. And even
yeah,
that 4th seed is going to be up for grabs.
I think obviously there's different places up for grabs right now. You have to look. I mean, There's a obviously the Ravens locked number one, Kansas City's locked number three, the Browns locked number five, so those can't be changed at all. Number two is either going to be Buffalo or Miami, and the four seeds either whoever's going to win the AFC South.
Yeah.
Six is interesting too because it could be Miami, it could be uh the Colts, it could be Houston. Again, it could be anybody like the two teams in the AFC South, and it could be Miami or it could be Buffalo. And then seven seed, this is where it gets super interesting because you put the Steelers into the mix, and in order for that to happen, you need the Steelers to do a lot for that to happen. So the Steelers are pretty much, I would say the Steelers are pretty much just like out because they would need them to win. They would need Buffalo to lose. They would need like five other teams to lose and stuff like that. So they would have to have a miracle basically.
Yeah.
So I'm not really counting in the Steelers right now. So I would say number one, obviously Baltimore. Number two, I'm gonna go with Buffalo.
Two.
Three, I would go obviously it's Kansas City. Four, I would put. I'm actually gonna go with the Colts to be honest with you. For the four seed, I think they'll win. I think they could win the AFC South just because I think they're at home against the Jags, and the Jags have lost Trevor Lawrence, so they're down Trevor Lawrence. So I think that's going to hinder them a lot. And
Are
their
they
defense,
really down Trevor?
I think they're down Trevor Lawrence because he was out the last game too.
Yeah,
I think they're
see.
split. So unless he's full participant in practice, but I think he has a bad like concussion or like a leg injury still.
All right, so Colts play Houston.
Oh, Colts play Houston. Okay, that's right. We said Jacksonville plays
Titans.
Titans. So never mind.
Jacksonville should win that game
Yeah,
regardless.
so I would
unless
put
they
so
really
Jacksonville's
blow it.
number four. So Jacksonville's number four.
Right.
And then obviously the Browns are five. So Jacksonville will be my four. Browns five. Miami six. Because Miami after Buffalo beats Miami, Miami will take that sixth slot. And then this is where it gets tricky because Houston and Indianapolis, man.
All right. Well, and here's the thing too. It's not even about just the Colts and like you Houston as well. The Steelers are also in that mix.
I think the Steelers are out, done and out because they
Yeah,
would
I mean,
need
me
so much
too.
for that to happen.
I
But
mean, yeah, they do. But
I would,
if they win, that's gonna be big for them regardless.
I think the Colts. I think the Colts are at home against Houston. I would probably go with the Colts at 7. So my AFC would be Baltimore, Buffalo, Kansas City, Jacksonville, Cleveland, Miami, and then Indianapolis.
Yeah, that's pretty
Because
much where I am. That's pretty much where I'm at.
because I would say Houston, but Houston has struggled for the last few weeks, and Indianapolis has actually played well the last couple weeks,
Yeah.
and Indianapolis actually has played well at home. So I think all those mixed together, I think Indianapolis could and should beat Houston and take over that last seeding. For the NFC, I mean, NFC is already pretty much set in stone.
Yeah.
San Francisco's number one. I know Dallas controls the destiny of them and Philly. So, and I don't even know who they play. I don't know if it's each other or if I know they play divisional opponents, I believe, but I don't know if it's against
Who?
each other. Dallas and Philly.
Dallas plays Commanders. Philly plays
Oh, God.
Giants.
So both of those should be able to win, and I think if Dallas wins, they lock number 2. So unless Dallas decides to blow ass and lose, then Philadelphia will bump right back up to 2. But I'm gonna say for the sake of it, I'm gonna say Dallas. So San Francisco, Dallas. The Lions have locked up 3.
Yeah. Tampa Bay could be 4th.
Tampa Bay could be 4th, and I think they will be because I think they are the better of the NFC South teams. I really do, and I think Baker's been on a solid season so far. So I really and who do Tampa Bay play?
It might be the Saints, but let me check.
I want to say it was New Orleans. I'm gonna
No,
have
it's
to.
not. Sorry.
I'm pulling up the schedule too.
Bucks play the Panthers this week.
Oh God, yeah. So that's locked
Bucks
as number
should
4.
be a lock, yeah.
Bucks
They
should be
should
locked up, and then I'm gonna have the Eagles at 5,
Yeah, Eagles stay 5.
and then this is where it gets tricky because LA could be either 6 or 7, and Green Bay could also be 6. And LA Rams, they play San Francisco, so I don't know. I mean, San Francisco would rest everybody, so that could be a win for LA. And then who do? Let me
So
see.
the Rams play the 49ers, so the 49ers are going to be
Right.
resting everybody.
And then the
So
Packers play. The Packers
play the
play
Bears.
Chicago in Green Bay.
Yeah. Which let me see the current standings there for them.
Okay.
I'm just curious to see if anybody is like in. Okay, so Chicago's dead last apparently.
Chicago's not getting in,
No.
and they have the
Oh
first
yeah, they
pick
are
too.
eliminated. Yeah, they're already eliminated. It already says.
Because the North is between.
Technically, yeah,
It's gonna be. I think 6 will be LA
yeah.
because they should be able to beat the backups of the 49ers.
Yeah.
And
Which I really
then,
hope they don't.
which means that 7th will be left up to the Seahawks and the Packers. And Seattle is playing
Cardinals.
the Cardinals. So again, man, this is
NFC is going to be a lot more crazier than I think
yeah,
the AFC will be, especially for these wild cards. Because I think the top 4 or 5 are pretty locked. I mean,
yeah,
listen, if the Saints win and the Bucks lose, I think the Saints take the 4th
yeah,
spot. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's right, because they're in the hunt. The Falcons are also still in the hunt, and somehow the Vikings are still in the hunt. So that's something very interesting as well.
yeah. So I think my last team at 7 will probably. I'm gonna go sneaky. I'm gonna go with Green Bay because I know Seattle play at Arizona, but I have this like tickle feeling that Arizona will beat Seattle for some like an odd reason because with Kyler Murray back, I mean Arizona's been playing a little bit better, and
Yeah.
they just
I
had a
mean, they
big
just
comeback
beat the
win.
Eagles. Yeah, they just
Yeah,
beat
they
the
had a
Eagles.
big so I would say Green Bay will finish with the division and take over that last wild card spot. So that's my locks.
Yeah. I pretty much agree with those, so I'm not even going to touch those because I think the only real big difference here is whether or not Tampa or the Saints
Saints,
win.
yeah.
Um, Now, although I think the Bears should just lose just for the draft pick.
Well, they already have the first draft pick. They already have the
Right.
first pick, so
No, I know, but I'm saying like even with their own pick that they have,
yeah,
just because
just
you want
lose.
like you want to try to get as much as you can, especially if you're gonna think about getting rid of Fields. You might as well load up on all of the draft cap that you could possibly get,
Mm-hmm.
and it would make sense. Now, do I think they should get rid of Fields? No, I don't think so, honestly. I think Fields has been fine. I think he just needs more help. He needs another receiver. He needs an O line that actually can protect him. Um, he just needs help there. And I think if you get a better quality, OC over there as well, they could really do some damage. So, but for their sake, I do think they should win. But could you imagine if the Bears do win that game against the Packers, and then all of a sudden now you're saying, wait a second, the Packers aren't going to be that 7th seed. It's going to be, say, Atlanta, because Atlanta, they play. Who do they play? Atlanta plays the Saints. That game will pretty much decide that winner for uh, that 4th spot. To be honest with
Yeah.
you,
Yep.
because everybody would kind of finish at the same thing. Now, the Falcons could be the wild card for Green Bay if Green Bay loses, and then the Saints would win. But I mean, I don't know, man. That is such a weird. That is going to be a fun, weird way to go out. And then obviously you do still have the Seahawks as well, who play the Cardinals. So that's like the easiest matchup that you can have. The Chiefs are playing the Chargers, so that's going to be an easy one for them.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos are also still in the mix, aren't they?
I don't think so. I think
Maybe
they're out.
not. Let me see. Because you can check. Oh yeah, they were eliminated. So the only team in their division is Kansas City that's gonna win. So Kansas City's a lock for that seed. So that's definitely right. The AFC South is going to be the funny one for us, and really the AFC North
Dude,
with
I'm actually
Pittsburgh.
looking forward to the NFC South to see how that turns out, just for the fun of it, just because it'd just be so funny to see like the fucking Falcons just make it for no reason, and it's just like, how the
Okay,
hell
so
did this
this makes
team
sense.
make it?
So even if the Bills do beat Miami, Miami is still in the playoffs. So really,
Yeah,
it would
that's what I
just be a
mean.
switcheroo. So okay, that makes a lot more
That's
sense
what I
now.
mean. Because
Now that I'm starting to look at
because
everything, I'm
my
like, okay,
my Buffalo would go to 2, Miami would go to 6.
yeah, wow, yeah, this could be very interesting. This is gonna
That's
be
why I had
fun.
Miami. That's why I had Miami in the 6th slot, because it's like, if no matter who, if they lose, they get that 6th spot locked up.
Now, if anybody is gonna put any bets out this week, look for players to hit certain incentives. Okay, because
Yeah,
there's guys like D Hop who, if he gets a certain bit of yards, uh, or even I think he needs it was like 49 yards and like 7 catches or something like that. It was something stupid. He would earn like another like close to milli just doing that. Look out for
that's a
those
good
because
idea.
those are going to be the bets you guys want to go after, or just guys that are going to have crazy matchups. Bet on them because this is going to be a fun, like crazy week. I think this week it's going to be very interesting for the NFL.
Too bad Joe Flacco's not playing, because you could just easily bet him 300 plus passing yards,
Oh
and
yeah,
that's guaranteed.
100%, 100%, 100%. So okay, so we were gonna end with Cavs, but you know what? I think we're gonna end with some OSU because we are already at an hour.
Yeah.
But the obviously big news that just popped up about 25-30 minutes ago, or actually almost an hour ago now. Will Howard just committed to Ohio State.
Which is crazy.
And that was the rumor that was going around pretty much all week. And pretty much for the last 48 hours, everybody was saying as soon as it's like there was one guy that said it could happen tonight, but it will definitely happen by tomorrow. So it sounds like it was a lock. It sounded like Ohio State definitely probably threw some money at him and said, hey, we're going to go after these guys now too. So as I expected, I thought after this bowl game, Ohio State was going to get very active in the portal. Obviously, everybody was getting mad that we weren't. I think there was a reason for that. I think they didn't want to bring in that energy, into the team until after the bowl game where everybody has played, everybody's been done, and everybody can just worry about themselves for right now because everybody needs to get away.
Yeah,
And
and I just saw it too. It was confirmed by Pete Thamel,
yeah,
who is
yep, yep, that's
a
my
college.
tweet I got up to.
Yeah, who's a college football senior writer, and it was it was said why Will Howard committed to Ohio State, and he said because he committed over USC and Miami, and
Yeah,
he said he quickly realized the importance of the Michigan game, and that's what made him sign with Ohio State, is because of Michigan, which is what you want to hear, because it's like,
yeah.
okay, cool, a guy who wants to beat the fuck out of Michigan.
Yeah, like everybody, like that's the thing that Ohio State has missed. We've missed a guy at the helm that will take that game seriously because we haven't had a guy that's really like truly taken that game seriously since like JT Barrett or Braxton or those guys. I mean, Fields won, but I don't know if he necessarily cared about it. CJ didn't, but he was so damn talented. He honestly should have. It would have propelled his Ohio State career so much more than it did. And obviously McCord didn't give a shit. I mean, when you heard McCord say, it's just another game, blah blah blah, I was like, dude, this kid's gonna lose. Like this isn't gonna go well. And when it comes to Ohio State, like when you play there, you have to care about that game. It's the most important game of this season for a lot of fans, for both sides, because it always dictates what happens. And now Michigan is in, the final. They're playing for a national championship, which that game is going to be fun as well because Washington is a very, very, very good team. I did pick them to win that game. I was rooting for Ewers, but everybody was looking at Arch Manning. Like everybody was talking about him more than Ewers, and I was like, man, I bet this kid's just pissed at this point. Like, because
Yeah,
Texas played well this year, and it was because of Ewers. And it was very unfortunate for for the kid. And honestly, if I was Ewers, I would just say fuck it and just go to the league right now
Yeah.
because there's too much distraction. Or enter the transfer portal again.
Could have came back to Ohio State.
Yeah, I mean, or I mean, he could have just fucking stayed and waited one more year behind,
Yeah.
Stroud, and then we wouldn't have even had a, you know,
Debate on
conversation
yeah.
with McCord or Devin Brown, and I
Which
think. Go ahead.
I feel so bad for Devin Brown too,
I
because
do too.
like he went out so early in that game against Missouri, and I think we would have won that game if we had Devin Brown at quarterback. But just the fact that he went down so fast, it was just so sad.
Yeah.
And
Well, even Keenholz really didn't play that bad. It's just he had
no,
constant pressure in his face.
yeah, the offensive line was shit.
It
And
was so bad.
Keenholz, I mean, both Devin Brown and Keenholz are 5-star recruits.
Recruits. Yeah.
So they both should be really fucking good. The problem is your offensive line is really fucking bad.
Yeah, which I mean, and now that we have Will Howard, I think that's going to be the next thing that you are going to see is Ryan Day throwing some money at some linemen and saying, "Hey, we need
Protect
some
this
O
guy.
line linemen, protect our quarterback. You're going to have weapons everywhere around you, and this defense is much better off now. This is going to be a much better team. I think people are sleeping a little bit on this Will Howard move. This kid is one of the best quarterbacks from the Big 12 that have been here. He's also probably one of the most. I mean, he's been in college the longest out of like any of the quarterbacks that we would have gone for. So he also has experience. He's played in big games. He's played against big teams. He almost beat TCU last year. It was, and he just didn't have the guys. Like he's gonna have endless weapons, and he's also mobile. He can run,
Yeah,
and he's a big dude. I think he's 6'5".
he's
So
huge.
he's huge. Like he's a big quarterback. It's gonna be fun. I'm excited about this move, and I know
Mm.
once they get sort of the roster a little more tied in, and get their linemen and do what they got to do. I think the next thing you are going to see is some coaching staff moves, which I've heard is going to happen. I've heard it's anywhere from 4 to 6 guys that are going to be moved. So they're
AKA
also,
Ryan Day.
yeah, I mean, I wish. Probably not, but we will see what happens. We'll see what goes on in this team, but there's clearly just some guys that didn't care, and
Yeah,
you need to have a better
and you saw that.
continuity. Yeah, like you just needed a better continuity around you.
Mm.
Listen, if Mike Vrabel gets let go, you need to throw all the money that you can to bring him in as a head coach, as a defensive coordinator, whatever you guys want to do. I don't
Both.
care. Both, I don't care. If you want to fire Ryan Day right then and there, you go ahead. If you want to put him as the OC, I don't care. But if Mike
I,
Vrabel has a chance to join this team, I don't
I
see
think
why you can't do
I think
that.
there's a chance that like even if you did do that, you could fire Ryan Day. You could promote Hartline to OC and just have Brian Hartline be the offensive coordinator
Yeah,
and just let Mike Vrabel be the defensive coordinator slash head coach.
yeah. I mean, if he's down for that, because I mean he's
Yeah,
been
I'm sure
the
Vrabel would
head
be
coach
down
for a
for it.
minute. Yeah.
I'm sure Vrabel would be totally down to come to Ohio State, his alma mater, and just beat the fuck out of Michigan.
And like, listen, it kind of makes sense for the Titans to go ahead and do that because the Titans suck. They need a rebuild. They might as well
Yeah,
bring in a new guy. They need to bring in a like young, offensive mind. They need to, get rid of Derrick Henry and just like cut ties with a lot of the older heads and just go into rebuild mode. Like it's time. You guys sucked this year. You guys
they
haven't
need to
really been
do
great.
they
Get
need
rid
to
of
do what
these
Miami
guys.
did.
Yeah.
Do what Miami did. You know, you got Mike. They got Mike McDaniel, a young, fresh offensive mind head coach. They got a lot of young talent,
Yeah, I
and
mean, go get a guy like Eric Bieniemy,
yeah,
go get the offensive coordinator for the Lions. Go get that guy that's gonna have that high energy, ready to go. And It would be fun. Like I would welcome Mike Vrabel back in open arms, and I know probably every Ohio State fan out there would agree.
Well,
And
well,
I don't see why
I,
not.
as I've been seeing and hearing everywhere, everyone is hoping that it'd be Mike Vrabel that comes in
Yeah,
because that's like everyone's number one choice. It's either Hartline or Mike Vrabel. Like those are everyone's top two choices to replace Ryan Day. Like, and everyone agreed that like even if you did bring in Vrabel, you just move Hartline to offensive coordinator, and then you just make Mike Vrabel the head coach slash defensive coordinator,
yeah.
and that team would be fucking insane. And it would be back to the Ohio State team that we grew up and loved and knew so well, and it reminded us of the Jim Tressel Urban Meyer days, where the
Yeah.
team was actually fucking good and actually cared about winning football games.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause that's the thing about Ryan Day too. Is like although he's won a lot of games here, he has not won very many big games.
No,
I think he has one win against like a top 10 team. I think he's 0-6 against the SEC, and I don't think he's won a playoff game yet. He just hasn't earned it big time, and like at the end of the day, Ohio State is one of those programs that if you're not contending for a championship every year, like the Alabamas, the Georgias, LSU's, those teams, if you're not up there with them, you can't be here because
yeah,
you're just held to a higher standard. And I know it must suck to be in that like in that position, but if you're gonna take that job, you have to understand that and take it right on the chest. And that's why Urban was so good with it, and that's why once he went to the big leagues, there's a reason why he didn't play as well or do as well, is because it's just a different atmosphere. Like you're not handling young men anymore, you're handling real ass adults that like take care of themselves and like didn't have NIL shit. Like now these kids have NIL deals and all that. It's a different game now, and I think Day is just behind the times on that, but he's still a
mm-hmm.
good recruiter. That's the one thing that Day is good at. So um hopefully this will get his confidence back up. And listen, you're gonna get one more shot if you do get one, and you better not fuck it up straight up. Like
Yeah,
if you're going, you better at least go to a playoff, and you better at least win one of the playoff games. And if you don't do that with a guy like Will Howard or a guy like Aaron, Nolan, when you are gonna have the talent you're gonna have, I just don't know if you really belong.
yeah, completely agree.
All right. Well, we are already at an hour and 12 minutes, so I think that is going to do it for us. I was gonna have us do a Browns score predict, but honestly, there's no reason to really do one because this game doesn't matter. Kitty cat there.
Gotta remove the crackhead.
Yeah. So we're really not even gonna worry about a score predict, but next week we're gonna be rolling in with playoff talk, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for it. I know a lot of Browns fans are as well. It's that time of the year, baby. It's January. It's ready to go. So I am really excited. Andrew, you got anything else for me before we log off?
Now, man, I'm just ready for next week, dude. I'm ready for the playoff talk. I'm ready to. I'm like playoff mode ready right now. Like
Yeah,
I am so fucking happy and so ready for these playoffs to begin. Like I just want it to happen so bad. Like right now, like I'm
absolutely.
just playoff mode ready. So
I've
next week
been
is gonna be
ready
a fun
since the
week.
Jets game. I've been ready
Absolutely.
since I hit that bet, and
Since you made
I'm ready
it
to hit.
1K.
I'm ready to hit some more bets for the playoffs. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it for us. Again, this is the Just BSN podcast. We will see you guys next week as the Browns look to get their first playoff win since 2020. Let's go.
Let's do it.